Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'll be talking about my experience with the MSI GF 63 8RD laptop after using it for about 2.5 years. So I made a similar video about my experience around 1 year ago, and I highly recommend you to watch that video as well, as I'll be updating you about the problems and issues I was having with this laptop back then, which I explained in greater detail in that video. Plus I'll also talk about a few more things which I didn't mention in that video but are significant enough to point out. So just for a recap, my unit has the i7-8750H processor with 8 GB of RAM and the NVIDIA GTX 1050 Ti Max-Q GPU. Now this brings me to the first major thing I didn't mention in the previous video, that is the GPU. Now the difference between normal 1050 Ti and a Max-Q designed 1050 Ti is that the Max-Q design is designed for thin and light laptops and has lower power consumption, resulting in lesser amount of heat. Even today, when this laptop is available with GTX 1650 or even RTX 3050 for that matter, you'll see that they are of lower wattage than the other laptops in its competition. The simple reason being, due to its lightweight and thin body, MSI wasn't able to fit a dual fan cooling system in this laptop, so it cannot keep up with cooling the full-size GPU. The performance, however, is not bad in any way. I don't know what MSI does to their laptops, but they perform really well even with Max-Q designed GPUs. This brings me to the next point, that are the thermals of this laptop. In the last video, I talked about how games become unplayable after some time as this laptop thermal throttles like crazy. Well, I recently got my fans cleaned and thermal paste changed, and as it turns out, the single fan in this laptop can suck in a lot of dust and can clog up its internal grills. To clean them, you have to take apart all the heat sinks, but after the cleanup, the temperatures have dropped significantly and there is no more thermal throttling going on anymore. Games run smooth for hours without any major frame drops. Moving on to the next point, that is the wear and tear on the keyboard. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, that the keys which I use frequently start to wear out, and unfortunately that wear was only getting worse. So I had to shift to using an external keyboard, but it is acceptable as some amount of wear and tear is bound to happen. And lastly, here are a few things which I didn't mention in the last video. Number 1. The trackpad. The trackpad on this laptop is good enough for the most part. The tracking is good enough and it's of a decent size. But the only thing which bothers me is the mushy clicks it has. Moving on to number 2, which are the speakers. The speakers on MSI's laptops are said to have better sound quality than the competition. But as I can't really compare it with other laptops, I can't confirm this statement. But speakers on this laptop are decently loud and do the job fairly well. Lastly, many of you were asking about its video editing capability, and for that I'll say it can handle 1080p video editing on Adobe Premiere Pro quite well, but it is not powerful enough to handle heavy 4K workload. So guys, that will wrap it up for my update on the MSI GF 63 8RD review, and if you did find this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.